My name's Colin Granger, and I'm a teacher and a teacher trainer and a textbooks writer, really, ELT textbook writer. And I'm also a theatre director. The place you can see me at the moment is one of our theatre spaces in Brighton. I've worked and taught all over the world, but now I live in Brighton, on the south coast of England. I think the key to teaching teenagers and in-between-agers is actually the teacher has to be organised. I started off as a teacher of adults, and then I switched to teaching teenagers. And before I did that, I was lucky enough, because of my job as writing textbooks, it gives me the chance of actually getting into classrooms and watching other teachers teach. And so before I started teaching teenagers, I got the chance of seeing lots and lots of teachers teaching teenagers. And amongst those were some real stars, some amazing teachers, teaching in ordinary schools, in difficult circumstances very often, with very large classes. In fact, sometimes up to 40 students, 40 teenagers. And I got the chance of actually watching them teach and learning their secrets, because they had secrets, amazing secrets. Every teacher in the world, it'd be great to have those secrets, really. But I would say the common factor with all those really good teachers who were achieving amazing results, that their students could really use English, and their lessons were really, really good lessons. I think the common factor for all those teachers was organisation. They were all highly organised. They had a system, and their students knew what that system was. Basically, those teachers had taught their students, first of all, not English, but this is how we learn in this classroom. And, so real details of things. This is how we read something. This is how we listen when somebody is talking. This is how we write notes. Every aspect of the lesson, they had a system for it. This is how we begin a lesson. This is how we end the lesson. These are your responsibilities throughout the lesson. And those teachers achieved such amazing things with their classes. So yeah, I learned so much from them, and it helped me so much when I started teaching classes of up to 40 as well, of students in their own country learning English. And I just would finish by saying, perhaps that's the first thing that the teacher has to do when they get a new class, and that's what these teachers did. They actually spent the first lessons were not about English; they were about how we learn in this classroom. This is how I will teach, and this is how you will learn, and getting them to accept that, which is difficult. It's very difficult to get students to accept it, but you can win them over by showing them that actually, if you follow these rules, then you'll actually be able to speak English. You will be able to pass the exams. You'll get good marks in tests. So using that kind of motivation, getting students to actually accept those rules. Maybe just to add to that, I think the other important thing, when you're starting out anyway to teach teenagers, is also, as a teacher, to remember what it was like for you when you were a teenager, what it was like going to school, for all those hours every day and having subject after subject and people saying you've got to learn this, you've got to learn that. And I think sometimes it's quite good for us as teachers to remember just what it was like those days for us as well. And, perhaps by remembering that, perhaps sympathizing a little bit as well with what it's like to be a teenager with all sorts of things going on in your head. And, how difficult it is sometimes to sit in a classroom all day. I think the thing I find the best part or the best thing in Hotspot really, and I think something I think is very important is having lots of different kinds of lessons really, lots of variety, because I think especially with teenagers, they appreciate variety. They appreciate that one lesson is quite different from the next lesson. And so in Hotspot, we've got plays, we've got poems, and we've got lessons centered on a poem or little plays. We've got stories. We've got sort of fiction and non-fiction, all kinds of lesson really. And I think that provides a really important variety which will keep the students interested. And if things are too long, I think for that age group, if you follow the same theme, lesson after lesson, they just get bored with it. And the other advantage is if they don't like one thing, then they turn the page and perhaps they'll like the next thing. So variety. Yes, well, the best thing about writing is always, the beginning of things really. It's when you start off writing a lesson, and it's all about creation. It's writing a poem for the lesson, or writing a text, or writing a dialogue, or designing a picture for the lesson. That's always the most interesting thing really. The creation of things really. And the writing the exercises then, or all these other things, they're fine. But it's actually the kind of presentation material really, which is the most pleasurable really to write. And the worst thing, well, it's connected to that really. The worst thing is you have a really good idea for a lesson, good idea for a story or for a text, and then the editor doesn't like it. And you have to find another one. So that's, for me, the worst thing about writing. What's my favourite word? English word? Oh, that's really difficult. I often ask my students what's their favourite word in English. And it usually is a kind of like a beautiful word, kindness or generosity, or it has a very positive meaning, and it's kind of their favourite word because of the meaning, obviously because of the meaning, and I like some words just because of their sound. For example, like I think sizzle is a fantastic word. For example, you say it to somebody who lives certainly in the UK. You say sizzle, and as soon as you say sizzle, in their mind they see sausages sizzling in a pan. You can't escape thinking of it. Even if you don't like sausages, you see sausages sizzling in the pan. And so I think the sound of that word is fantastic. It sounds just right. And it's also a great word, 2 Z's. I love that. It's got 2 Z's, So the shape of words, and also how words are made up, that can make words very, very interesting. So yeah, today my favourite word is sizzle.